He called me and he goes, Steve, you're exactly what we're looking for. We're going to make you a star.
No way. You started in your bedroom.
Yeah. I'm just going to start a YouTube channel. I'm going to do this every game.
You quit. Like that's for a lot of people. It's like, what? What are you doing?
I've thought to myself, I've made it so many times. 5 shifts after I moved into that house, I got laid off. I remember thinking like, I'm ruined. Like I'm financially ruined. Your definition of made it is going to keep changing.
What's the most surprising thing as you've been going that you've had to figure out?
If you don't quit, you might make it. And if you quit, you definitely won't.
People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it.
I'm never going to be my hero. That's just fine with me because that keeps me with somebody to keep on chasing.
Everybody's trying not to go home.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something.
When you've got something which you know is individual to yourself, just encourage that, nurture it.
You got a dream, you got to protect it. You want something, go get it.
Welcome to episode 2 of You'll Never Make It.
And today we have our first guest, which is the amazing Steve Dangle Glynn, or Steve Glynn Dangle.
Steve, yeah.
One of the two there.
He is a very successful podcaster, one of the biggest podcasts in Canada, I think,
Yeah.
definitely in sports.
Yeah.
YouTuber, writer, author,
Yeah.
has a second book coming out in October 15th.
Yep.
October 15th. And
You might have seen Stream a Leaf game with Steve Dangle, and that was him.
yeah, he's done a lot of things in this industry to get to where he is today, and he's still trying to make it every day. As we learned that there was a great talk, and we'll get to that in a minute because and we gave him some pizza before we started.
That's right. That was a good start. You feed them beforehand. That way they can just fall asleep during the podcast.
no, then they confuse them to talk, and like they're not going to be hungry and like want to go.
Right.
Because they're fed.
Of course.
Right?
Sure.
And it was very good pizza.
Yeah.
Before we get to Steve, we always want to start kind of updating each other on like where we are in our path to like our big goal, which is
just a recap of where we are in our path to making it.
Making
hopefully.
it. Yeah. Mine being having a TV show in some form.
Yep.
Yours.
And mine being having a hit, whether it's a written song or something you performed as a band, but a hit.
So you just came off a tour, a UK tour.
We did. We the Commoners, my band. We went to the UK for 2.5 weeks, roughly.
Yeah.
And we played 10 shows, technically 11, because one of them was a record store where we did a little in-person sort of acoustic strip-down thing. And we played all across the country. We played 2 festivals. The festivals were crazy. One of them was called Made of Stone, and then it was called Steelhouse.
How many?
They were well attended. It's like
Really?
10,000 people at these shows.
Wow.
And
You did all these things. You're in a UK tour. You're playing to 10,000 people. Saw a great photo of you standing there with the guitar and the crowd in front of you. It seems like you've made it,
That's
right?
That's
Have
right.
you?
It looks like that, right? But I mean, on the grassroots of things, we've made it because our goal was to tour Europe and to tour the UK and actually be a rock band being received by thousands of people. So in that way, we did make it. Check mark.
But
right?
that's not the
That's
hit.
not the ultimate
That's
goal.
not the hits.
The ultimate goal is to have that worldwide hit, right? Which
Yeah.
allows you to do what we just did in that UK European market, but across the whole world, or at least across bigger markets, right? Like the key market is always the US for rock bands. If you can break into the US, you're in great shape. UK is sort of the secondary market, but it's all massive. And so fortunately, we've taken off there. Europe as well. Being able to conquer those areas is great. Adding the U.S. to that would be amazing, and obviously adding, the home North America, where we're from in Canada, would be great. But that would actually be the next step towards making it, would be to break out into those areas. So right now we've conquered a small part of the world, but albeit a very large part of the world market.
Yeah.
But it's still a very small part of the world. So while we've made it there, or at least made a good impression there, and on our way to being one of the bigger acts in that area, it's not the worldwide thing yet.
Yeah.
So that's the next step. You conquer the next piece. But it sure looks good on the camera, and it's a lot of fun to do and be a part of, and onward and upward, right?
Yeah.
And what about you? You just played to a big crowd last night, to stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And you got a couple of shows that you're working on developing that are getting close to the
Okay, we'll see.
mark.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal. So doing stand up again, it part like I keep thinking about the stand up part of what I do. Like I'm doing stand up comedy. Like why am I doing it? And I know it's building up to like the, being a creator or being someone who people want to buy tickets to or like just know and be well known. But like, what is the ultimate goal? Is it that? Like, I don't know. Because really it's to make a TV show. And I guess I'm trying to get to it anyway.
Right.
Which is, hey, maybe I'm in it and maybe but also more people know who I am, more opportunities might come to do that. But also I'm doing the Food Network thing. Anyway, that show I just did. There's 300 people, beautiful theater, Hamilton, Ontario. I opened for a very big comedian, creator, 20 million followers, Corey B. Also does food videos. Really, that's how he got big. And I do food videos.
Right.
It was amazing. We also filmed a YouTube video previous to the show. It was probably the best show I've ever done. Like the best crowd, the best I've performed. Because you rise up to it, right? I knew what the stakes were and was like, I was really going to hone in on what the bit was, use the stage. And it was amazing. And those guys, Corey B and Marcus Marone, the other comic who came with him, the guys from New York, they were very nice. And like they're doing international tour right now. So they're in it as well. And like, but it was just so cool to see them work. And him at a different level than what he's doing social media and comedy, and like that's where I'm trying to get to. Like, there's always something to aspire to.
Right.
But that show was awesome. Working on a show developing with the Food Network, so we're in very deep development right now. Like, we're coming towards about a month before we know we have to finally deliver everything. We give him a new deck and it looked good. So I'm just waiting to hear back on like how they want the new edit for the sizzle reel to be. And like, they need to try to sell it in the room to the execs and all that. And see if they could immediately say, you know what, it's not for us after they show the room in that meeting, or they could be like, hey, we like it. Let's keep going. And then maybe we'll give you a green light.
Right.
So we don't know. We don't know. It remains to be seen. Well, we'll know soonish.
But so have you made it?
No, no, definitely not. And I feel like even once they greenlight it, it still might not happen.
Right. That's the part that drives me crazy. You were telling me about that earlier.
Yeah, there's a whole thing. Like, that's just the industry. It's just like things might not work. It might not reach that agreement if they want it. Just the agreement might not be made, or it might not be reached, and you just don't do it. And
I think that's true of everything, because
Sure.
the label side too. If you just because you get signed to a record label doesn't mean that you're going to become the next big thing. It's like you might get signed. They might decide to not actually put your record out. They might still give you an advance towards a record that you might not even do. You might have this money sitting there that you recoup against the label, and then they own the thing until you pay it back, or they, and so you never know when, just because you've got to that next tick, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what's cool, because we're going to talk about that with Steve about when it looks like you've made it and then things change.
Yeah, so it's funny. We just left with him, and he just got recognized outside.
That's right.
And it's starting to happen to me more. And I really like that part of it. And knowing that people are watching my stuff and like affected and like want to say hi, I love interacting with those people.
Right.
So that for me is like one of the best parts of this.
What would you have done in that scenario? Would you have tried to make content out of that?
No, not content. No. It would have been I would have, again, I think I don't know the point yet, but it probably gets to a point where I need to live my life. I can't, I just can't go outside. Like, who knows?
Right.
Obviously, Steve isn't I don't think Steve's at the point, but like, I remember being with him at the Sabres draft. Like, we're outside and like, he got swarmed by people.
Right.
I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So it happened to me. I was at the C&E filming a bunch of stuff, and throughout the Canadian National Exhibition, for those who don't know. And I think throughout the whole day, like 50 people came up to me like, hey, I love your videos.
Right.
So that was crazy.
Which is in your backyard, which is crazy. Right, it's here in Toronto. Right?
Yeah,
right. Like for us,
that's not
crazy. That does happen in Europe,
UK. Yeah.
But it's like it's very weird, because here, you couldn't get arrested here.
Yeah,
which is a great line. I love.
Please.
Yeah, please. So it's
you get to a level when you're in this trying to make it, where the first step of making it is your friends or family stop needing to support you.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is a weird moment, because you're like, why is nobody watching the thing? How come my friends don't know that I did that?
Well, no, but you start. I think it's the standard thing where you start with your network of support, which is obviously your family and your friends.
Yeah.
And those people, typically it's like, if you take a band scenario, usually it's like that band that's in high school that's like can sell at the auditorium of their high school with all their friends.
Right. And 99% of the people aren't really your audience.
Not at all. But there are people who are like, oh, this is the cool thing to do because our friends are doing it. So we all go here to support it. And then you get any sort of real notoriety or success, like anything that sort of lifts you out of that friend world, whether it's a sponsorship or whether it's you got it at a magazine or something that makes it look like, oh, these, to the world, it looks like, oh, you're actually doing something real. Typically that friend group, they typically go, well, they don't need my support anymore. So they stop doing it.
Yeah. And exactly. And it's good because they probably didn't care for your actual content.
That's right.
They liked you.
Yeah.
But you're not making it for them.
That's right.
Because it's maybe not in their taste or in their what they like to do or watch or listen to.
Yeah. And they don't feel that they have to support the act anymore because they missed it, right? So
I used to come to a lot of your shows.
You did.
But then I also had 2 kids.
Well, of course.
And then, so definitely couldn't come.
But I think it's more like if you equate it to like, typically like, again, in a band world, it's like they would get a sponsorship from a brand or some gear that they are dealing with. Like let's say you get a Gibson sponsorship or you get a Dario sponsorship or something like that, right? Typically once the band posts about those things and going like, look how proud we are, we've gotten to that point of doing this.
Right.
There's a moment where the fans who are not necessarily like follow forward fans or like lifer fans, people who are there to support the person, they go, wow, that's so nice that they've done it. Great. Well, we don't need to support them as much now because they've made it. Great.
Yeah,
so we don't need to support them anymore.
Exactly.
So then there's a moment where the people who are in that position losing their fans, they go, wow, what happened? We should be propelling our momentum. We should be getting bigger. But all of a sudden we just got smaller. What happened there?
Right. Exactly. I got to a point where I was like, people weren't watching that I knew, or like people didn't know the videos I was putting out. I was putting a lot, like especially when I was doing daily stuff. But like I was talking to people and friends, whatever, and people like yourself, like, oh, I didn't know you did that, or I didn't see that yet. And I was like, oh, that's sad. And then I started to realize, like, well, no, it's not for them anymore. The audience is growing enough that it's for these people, and my friends are don't need to see it because it's not made for them. And it was a freeing thing.
Is that the algorithm at work, or is that just?
But then there's this other thing that more, in the last 5 years, maybe less, the algorithms aren't showing you your friends' stuff, right? It's showing you what it thinks you want to see,
right? Which
is most of your friends don't post good stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
It's typically right. Yeah. It's the stuff that's the most engaging and like viral is you're getting fed, and the version of that you like.
That's right.
You're seeing that. So it's not only that you don't need the support, but also the algorithms are working against you seeing your own families and friends things. Right. Unless it's very good stuff. Unless it's good quality stuff.
I think it's less. I don't even think what I'm talking about is just social media.
No. I think it's coming out.
Yeah, physically being
However,
part of your show.
They might not see the story that you put that said, hey, I have a show on this day.
That's right.
So they might not even know. Not because they didn't want to know. It's because they just weren't fed it.
Crazy.
Very good. We're still going. We'll update you next time.
Yeah.
Also, you can just follow us along real time on Instagram.
That's right.
Well, I think it's time we can bring our guest in.
Let's bring him in.
Our good friend, somebody I think we both look up to who's been doing it, who's been making it.
That's right.
But it doesn't come without hardship.
Well, I think he's the perfect example of what this podcast is about.
Yes.
And I think after hearing what he has to say, you'll sort of see why it's important to not give up.
Exactly. All right.
Let's do it.
Here's our talk with Steve Dangle. I'm talking about like when you and I were in school, I lived like a street, like a stop away from each other, like on the highway, but we didn't realize that until later.
There was a practicum meeting where people really did not want to come to Pickering for the meeting.
Yeah.
But I was like, I actually think it's a pretty cool idea.
Because you're right there.
I don't think people were happy with me.
No.
And we were all part of the commuter club, but I was the other way.
You went to the west side. Yeah.
Wait, are we recording? Like, is this the show?
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, we'll do a proper intro, and then we'll.
No, we won't.
Thank you, Steve, for coming on this podcast. This is really a treat.
Thanks for
as a fan of yours and as a friend and colleague.
That's it.
This is really quite a treat.
I think in my mind, when we started this, you were always like the first guy I would reach out to like, this is the perfect guy to be here.
Yeah,
So,
we talked about the podcast and we were sort of like, well, so like kind of how Steve did it. That's what we should talk about. Yeah, perfect.
how he did, how he
And
made
how
his,
Steve did it.
Yeah,
how he
here
did
we
his
are.
career. Yeah. Because like, the show is, you'll never make it. And it's about always trying to make it in this industry. And there is a sentiment that's like, maybe you make it from the outside's perspective, but internally, like you might never make it. Like in your own head, you're always trying to do the next big thing. And
There's no summit,
yeah, that's it.
you know?
There's always something to be done. And I know just living with you as friend and like working together and going to school together, we've all like, I feel like I've seen you like have major like problems with like, what am I going to do next? Like I'm screwed. And I remember specifically, I think it was a lockout season or something. You were just, I remember you just calling me and being like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. Like, and basically that's the question of really what the whole show is like, there was a time in your life that you thought, I might not make it. And like, I'm going to have to get a job at, I don't know, Best Buy or so,
It's it's funny. So 2012 comes and there's a lockout in the NHL. So there's no hockey, which I got to tell you is a huge bummer for someone who makes videos exclusively about hockey. And it's when COVID hit, part of me was like, yeah, I've seen this before. Right. I'll figure it out from here. At least I got a salary job this time.
That's right.
Right.
And then, shortly after COVID, I quit. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I did too. I quit to
That's true.
do something totally different. I got out of hockey.
But that was unfortunately my advice, which you followed for some reason.
Well, let us hear, unfortunately. No.
This is it. This is all it is.
What I
This is what
quit
it
for.
led you to.
God, yeah.
I think it's crazy because I remember when you first started doing the videos in your bedroom, and I remember watching them, and it wasn't about the aesthetic. It was just about like I don't actually know, but I don't know about what you're like. I want to know about the hockey issues, and so I would follow you just to be like, okay, now I know what the hell's going on, because that's how badly they were covering it in the media already. That you were the inside, even at the first stages of it.
And I don't have any clout.
Right.
I didn't play
At that
growing
time,
up. I'm not like a journalism major or I don't know. To this day, I don't know why people listen. I'm glad they do. Like, I hope that continues and everything. But
Please.
like, you got to be upfront about what you are.
Right.
Right. And I'm glad I've got to like learn to play hockey in recent years and, teaching my son how to skate and everything. Like that's really rewarding and everything. But no, I'm a big Leaf fan who loves the team.
Right.
And we've expanded to like the whole NHL, and with the network, we're trying to do other sports, but I often get, we're going to go with feedback from the internet where it's like, well, who the hell are you? And like, why would I listen to you?
Right.
And I'm like, that's a great question. I don't really have an answer to it, but like,
Right.
Thanks for
the
leaving.
number keeps going up.
Yeah, right.
So,
But isn't it because you're the everyman? Like, isn't that what it is? Like, to me, it's like, well, you
does
know,
everyone like me?
I think that the majority of people are. I think that most sports fans are angry and very passionate about it, and that's what you did. You followed your passion.
Maybe I
into
just
a
don't
career.
have a filter. Like
That's
maybe
possible.
Like I so often will get a message like, I show my girlfriend your videos to make me look normal. So I'm happy to screw up the bell curve.
You make everyone look
for
good.
everybody. I'd be awful to work at an office with.
Right. Well, again, passion though, but everyone
yeah.
has that tick about something. Maybe it's not hockey, but like if you get the right person talking about something, whether it's dogs or whether it's mountain climbing, they get animated about it, and that's what people watch for, because they go, well, this guy cares probably more than me, and I care a lot. He cares more, so you get to put that out to us, and that's why we watch.
And it's only gone up. Like I wondered if I'd get like jaded about it over the years, but it's amazing if your livelihood's tied to something.
Yeah.
How much more?
Welcome
you're
to
like,
where we are.
Yeah. No. So I get fired up about everything, man. Like listen, the media wanting the Leafs to lose and everything. I assure you, when the Leafs lost in the first round this year, I lost so much money, much money.
Yep.
If they had gone all the how do we already get here? It feels early to be this late, but it's only grown. So like I'm happy about that part of myself, I guess.
Right. So, I mean, getting to where you have your own Steve Dangle podcast network, which when I saw that first, I was like, this guy's a genius. Like, this is what I should. I make a American versus Canadian network? Because for my cut, I was like, that's the way that's so smart. How did that come to be, that idea of that network?
So the name was not my idea.
Okay.
Oh, I'll throw that out there right away. When we came up with the name for the Steve Dangle podcast in 2013, I didn't want to call it that.
Sure.
I wanted to call it, like, I don't know, one of the million hockey names, like, Pucks and Sticks or
sure.
whatever.
Right.
I didn't want to call it the Steve Dangle podcast because that's my online name. It's not even my real name. It's my online name. And like, what a jerk I'm going to look like naming a show after myself.
Right. But that is, I mean, yeah, you got to get over yourself to market properly, I think, sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Right?
That's my problem.
It was
That's why he doesn't post any clips.
I can't. I watch myself and go, even now, I want to watch this and go, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I think Ross and I have that blue car syndrome where you just get distracted by something else.
Oh, big time. Big
Yeah.
time.
I'm going to get to this.
Yeah.
Nope. And actually, how about I get to 13 other things?
Yeah. You should see my to-do pile.
Exactly. And it's a pile.
If I can find it,
Not a
I would
list.
show you.
Organized people make lists. It's a pile.
Yeah,
It's a
it's a
do
pile.
pile.
It's a two pile. That's so good.
So SDPN
Yeah.
came about. A lot of it was Adam and Jesse, to be honest, my two co-hosts and business partners. We didn't want to just do our show. Like, we always thought there was an opportunity. We would have guests on and stuff like that, and people would want more of them. But I'm like, well, okay, they can't be on every show for a variety of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And, we want to talk to this guy and that guy, and we want to branch out, and who knows, maybe even do other sports. And we weren't going to be able to do it unless we partnered up with people and made other shows. And so the idea for the network was born. That, and I need there to be a study on the general behavior of individuals after COVID. Like, everyone, it just feels like there's so much less tomorrow. Like, or that's how everyone's living. They're like, you know what? I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna do that. How many people I know who got divorced?
Oh, wow.
During COVID.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there. And COVID, it's like, no, yeah,
That's it.
No, yeah, we're done here. I'm gonna move on to the next thing. It just felt like it feels like COVID emboldened people,
Right.
in a way that is hopefully good.
Well, it certainly gave them
Yeah.
a lust for travel. I'll tell you that. I mean, I didn't travel all that much before, but I certainly traveled a fair bit. And then now with the band's doing all this touring, it feels like everyone on the plane that's not us is like, we should finally do our first trip. And they're always on that plane. And it's just, no one knows how to fly. No idea. They've never even checked a suitcase before.
Drive.
No, they
No one
don't
knows
want
how to
to.
drive.
No, they don't want to do
Yeah.
nothing. They don't know how to do anything.
No,
But they're doing it now, and they're always in my way.
There's a deficit in driving skill. There's fewer cars on the road and worse drivers per capita.
Yeah.
Million
That's
percent.
100%. Yeah.
Million
very true.
percent. What a Toronto show. Like, see how quick it got to, we can't drive anywhere.
Yeah.
But that's,
Leafs are never going to win the cup. We can't drive anywhere.
Right. Yeah. That's
Oh my
it.
God.
that's the show.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is true of LA. It's true of New York.
That's where the
too.
worst. I was with some comics from New York the other day,
Yeah.
and they were driving to a show that we were at, and they were like, traffic's there. I'm like, what's worse, New York or Toronto? It's like, oh, Toronto's much worse.
Really? In New York.
100%.
Really?
100%.
But not LA, though. LA's got
I think I think we're the worst.
Really?
LA, the difference is LA doesn't have a rush hour.
Right.
It's just
always
bad.
like that. Right.
It's just constantly
It's
bad.
gonna-
Right. It's always bad. Right. That makes
Midnight
sense.
traffic jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least you guys, you're coming from the other side, so you're not going in that where they put it to one lane on the Gardner.
No.
You're not doing that. That's the
No.
worst.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
a sign
yeah,
they put
you-
up that says
yeah.
only 3 more years. They put it up there.
You're joking.
Well, not the government, but some smart guy.
How do you put that up? Oh, yeah.
They just hung it over the railing. That's
Oh, we should do that more.
They did that. They just put it. It's
Smart.
only 3 more years. You're sitting in traffic. You're like, he's right.
He's right. He's right.
I might be here for those 3 years.
Until it's 3 years from now, and you're like, you lied to me.
Yeah, that's right.
So you were back to the network. You were with Sportsnet.
Yes.
And so a lot of people, as I think we've mentioned before, like a lot of people, that's success. You've made it,
Yep.
right? And even when I was with the Sabres and the Bills, like people would love to be in the position I was in, and I was there for 8 years. And it's like, it was great. But everything, especially being creative and like having new ideas all the time, it's not, we're not complacent. Like we don't want to just stick around. And it's so like you quit. Like that's for a lot of people. It's like, what are you doing? How did people receive it? And how do you, was that this right decision?
Two very different camps. You know, friends and family were all, are you sure? And like, I understand. They're like, okay, so what job are you going to?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
I'm making my own, I think.
I'm going into boss.
Yeah.
I think my new position is boss.
Usually the boss is the first guy who gets fired.
Which there's another arrogant thing.
The boss goes down with the ship.
I'm gonna make my
that's
own
true.
podcast network and name myself boss.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Is that on the business card? You're boss.
It's like,
That's great.
You know, it's
I'm going to
funny.
do that.
It's easy though to complain at your workplace,
right.
And then when you run the place, you know, the first time I remember going, oh man, like someone should change that light bulb, and I'm like, oh, I'm someone.
That's me.
Shoot.
You're the janitor and you're the lead guy. That's how it is.
Yeah. I'm the janitor.
I'm going to take the trash out after this is done.
Right.
I'm the boss, but I'm also the janitor.
Yeah.
Oh, did I take the trash? Like,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
But let me ask you this though: as the leader, like as the boss, as the leader, that's not for everyone. I'll say that right now. Being the boss and the responsible guy is not for everybody.
No.
So how did you find yourself in that role? Because it obviously just happened.
I'm very lucky that I get to put it on two other people.
Okay,
Right. So we split the duties.
Right,
yeah.
that's great.
Like it's me, it's Adam, it's Jesse, and we're never off at the same time. And I don't mean not working. I mean we're never all in a bad mood or all just having a bad day, grumpy or whatever at the same time.
Right.
If one of us needs to pick up the other two or two of us needs to pick up one, we can always do it.
Right.
You know, it's not a rare occurrence to be like, I just don't know what to do about this. I've tried this, I've tried that. And sometimes you just need to do the exact same thing over again with a different voice.
Right.
Sometimes you need a fresh approach to it, and it's eureka, and you learn to, you know that feeling of, oh, why didn't I think of that? And you feel stupid and you dwell on it.
Yeah.
No, you lose that real quick.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just like,
Especially
okay,
with-
great.
Yeah, like two, you know, business partners
Yeah.
Right.
who always have better ideas than me. I'm like,
Sure, yeah. That's what that's part of the superpower is finding great people to work with.
Yeah.
Of being able to do what you guys want to do in the best way possible and the quickest, most efficient, and
you've hired well too.
Yeah, so
Which-
it's all part of it.
Super lucky.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh
people
my god.
always say they go you should, as the leader, you should be the dumbest one in the group.
Oh, I like that.
Like that's how I've always looked at
Solved.
it. I just try to
Nailed it.
That's it.
Got it.
But it's
Nailed
right
it.
though. You should be the one that goes, I'm hiring the best people for that role because I'm not that best person, right? You play to your strengths.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, it's like I've got these great editors, I've got these great engineers that work under me, but for me, who I trust with everything because their ideas are great. You know.
Well, and you know, working at Sportsnet, like I'm not gonna, now that I've quit, like I'm not gonna completely trash the place. Like I will say, like working for a big telecom, like especially in Canada right now, like the morale's terrible.
Is that right?
Yeah,
terrible.
I think that's true of any. Yeah.
No one
Underappreciated.
was like, oh, I'm surprised to see you go.
Right.
You know, it was everyone was very supportive. I have nothing but good things to say about all the people I worked with.
Yeah.
Right? It's Wizard of Oz. You know, pay no attention to the man behind
Right.
You don't even know who to be mad at.
Right.
Like corporately, you know what I mean? You think you found the problem, and well, they can't do this because and finally you're like, what if I just left?
Yeah.
Right.
Like what I don't know.
Exactly.
It was good working there for the experience of you know, it's like I feel like I've opened my own sausage factory, and that was 9 years of finding out how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
Right. So it was easier to hire the right people for the right positions because I got to work with so many different people in so many different positions.
Yeah.
And like the specialist is over kind of in a way, at least in media.
You need to be somebody who can do a lot of different things.
You can be a specialist, but like, you know, graduating from school, like you guys can attest to this because we both went to the same program. Every time there was a group project, there were a few students who were, I noticed they were in charge of every project. And I was like, okay, so your strength is leadership for sure. And you can do something that I can't. But by the end of your education, I think you'll be doing yourself a disservice because you usually don't graduate and apply for the position of boss.
Right.
That's very true.
You know what I mean?
You need some technical skill or something that's different than that. You're totally right.
Yeah, so it's rare to get out of school and go right into, I want to be on camera or something. You go right into an on-camera position.
Right.
You can do it. You can find a job that's on camera, but if you don't know how to edit, you're dead.
Yeah.
Right.
If you don't know the basics of lighting, audio is I remember first semester it was just audio, and so many people in our program were disappointed because we're like, no, we want to do video. What is it? And you realize, there is no video without audio.
That's it.
Like
they shouldn't have started with that because that's what happened. So hey, we'll get through the baby programs, then we'll get right through. It's like, no, that's a critical one.
That should have been the
integral.
Yes.
It should be the culminating thing. Okay, you've worked up to this point. Now you do the audio. That's what it should,
I see.
But I think that's a great point that we could, if we can take a look at that for a second. There's no specialist, or the specialist day or age is gone. I think that's fantastic because I think if you pick your stream, whether it's audio or video editing or whatever, within that, I think there is a specialist because obviously I don't know nothing about nothing other than audio. So that's a specialist. But outside of that, you can't just be the producer. You got to be the engineer. You got to be the mixer. You got to, otherwise you are stuck, unable to do the full spectrum, and you're paying people when you shouldn't be.
Editing's a huge blind spot.
Right.
For a lot of people in charge. Again, I had good bosses. I'm not trashing them, but there were times where if you talk to the editors, they think the content fairy comes and it's like the tooth fairy, right? Instead of teeth, you leave a request for videos under your pillow.
Yeah.
And then the content fairy comes and delivers content.
Yeah.
And here's 10 highlight packs.
Yeah. That's good.
And an Austin Matthews goal compilation. And these 3 original content features and interviews. And you wake up the next morning and a third of those things are done. And you're like, I got ripped off by the content fairy. No, you need to have a better idea of this takes an unbelievable amount of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? I think back to when I was doing highlights at CBC.
Yes. Oh my God, that's right.
Right? That was a while ago, and it would take all night, and it would just be me and an editor.
Right.
But I remember before that, I was at Leafs TV.
Yes.
With no editor. So my first day at CBC, they're like, and this is Dave. You're going to be working with him. He's your editor. I went,
you don't have to edit.
What? I felt like, what's that Anne Hathaway movie where she finds out she's royalty?
Yeah.
I don't know the name of that one.
I was like, oh my God, I got an editor here?
Wow.
That's crazy, right? So you gotta know how the sausage is made. You can't manage people if you don't understand the job they're doing.
That's so true.
That's great. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And that's why with where you are right now, you've seen people and you've done the jobs. Can you take us through that for a second? Just so you started in your bedroom.
Yeah.
And then you worked your way through. You were CBC, Leafs TV. Give us an idea.
Junior Hockey Magazine.
Yeah,
Junior Hockey Mag. Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah,
you're
booking guests, right? For Gino Reda or something?
For Mean Gene. For Gino Reda. That was, we were doing junior hockey that year. And what's pissing me off is now all those players are old.
Yeah. It's sad.
People talk about them like they're old.
Yeah. It's like, wait. They're old. They're younger than us.
Luke and Braden Shen and Jordan Eberle.
Yeah.
Every time I see a picture of him, I'm like, put those gray hairs away.
Yeah. Oh, that's sad.
No, you're still on the World Junior team.
Yeah.
Get out of
right.
here.
Yeah,
that's not allowed.
I remember that goal.
Yeah. Kadri. Tavares.
Yeah.
Tavares. People are talking about him like he's old and decrepit and he's at the end of his career. And
you're younger than us.
There's I covered you in junior.
Yeah, right.
I went to one of your Generals games.
Yeah.
Stop getting old.
Right. Yeah.
That's
right.
so sad.
What do you mean he has 3 kids? All that stuff. So I got into radio and TV.
Yeah.
With you two.
Where we met. Where we all met at it was TMU now.
TMU.
Formerly
TMU,
Riders.
that's right.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I felt really out of my depth at school, like especially at the beginning.
Really?
Well, because like someone like you, for example, you had an internship at Rogers.
Like, sort of, not really. I don't know what I did.
He made that up, is what he did.
I really, no, I didn't make it up.
We all lie in a resume to get in, right?
I did do a couple like job, but like it was like one-off jobs. But also I was always making videos on this, like leading up to it and making skits and stuff. Yeah.
Like you had editing software and like you could edit at your house.
Yes.
Which I was like, oh, okay, there, Mr. Millionaire.
Good old Windows Movie Maker, $1 million program.
Yeah, it's like it's like third grade. You see someone came to school with Dunkaroos. You're like, oh, all right. Someone's dad got a raise. All right, relax. You know. So like, you know, you had your internship. Like, when did you have your first studio?
Right in that. I was in my parents' basement doing the studio during the first year of Ryerson.
Yeah, and that's mind blowing to me. And then there's me. That's like, all right, I am somewhat loud and eccentric. I don't know how to operate anything technically, and I can write kinda. Right. Like I was sitting there. Our program was, I think, 7% acceptance rate.
Yeah, it's very low.
It was like I'm willing to bet didn't make very many mistakes.
Right.
Like when they accepted students.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, well, they might have made one. Right? Like maybe me.
They also didn't not let us know that too. They had the whole time they're like, well, you're the top of the top of the top. Which is that true? Most
I never had that conversation, Ross.
No, they said that in like the lecture halls. They'd be like, just before we start today, just make sure you all know you're the top of the top.
Very special.
They would do that, and we'd be like, that's odd. And like, most of them are not even in the industry anymore. They're all lawyers. Perhaps better.
Some of them. Oh yeah. You know, but so second year came around,
right?
And I'm like, I don't have an internship. I need practical experience. I'm just gonna start a YouTube channel. And the way the first time I was like, okay, this is my self-appointed internship was game 3 of the Leafs season that year.
Yeah.
Because I had made videos for the first 2, and then by game 3, you know, reacting to what happened in the game. I remember being like, okay, I'm gonna do this every game. And I missed 2-3 games that season. I think I've missed 7 or 8 ever. Wow. And this is coming up on season 18.
Wow.
Jesus.
Wow.
And
so that was what, 2007 second year? Is that 2008 maybe?
It was the 2007-2008.
That's the one
season.
Wow.
That was the first one.
The criteria for missing a video has changed. It used to be someone has to die.
I see.
And then this year my daughter was born, so it needs to be someone needs to die or be alive.
Yeah, right? be alive.
Be alive. Get alive. Birthed.
People need to go into a room and come out with more people or less people than they were in with.
You can't if you have the same amount of people.
I'm doing a video.
Making a video. This past year, we had more people.
Yeah, hey, there it is.
We couldn't talk about the Ryan Reeves Matt Rempe fight. I was really upset about it. Thanks, Isla. You jerk. So
that's funny.
So I did that. I ended up getting an internship at the Fan 590, which is now Sportsnet 590 The Fan, presented by Ed Rogers, whatever.
I didn't know you did that. That's awesome. See, this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
I was there. Parlayed that into Junior Hockey Magazine, writing for Mean Gene, Gino Retta. And it was weird. It's weird when the TV's your boss. You know, like you watch him growing up and, oh, geez, the TV's my boss. That's very strange.
Wow.
And oh my God,
that's where you made a lot of connections, because then you and I did like separate videos where we went and met these players at their like OHL or whatever. Remember that?
We did. We're so old. Like
it was like
we did an OHL
ago.
final game.
Yeah.
Oh, this was a great game. This was an OHL final game. Taylor Hall.
Yes.
And the Windsor Spitfires versus Alex Pietrangelo and the Barrie Colts. It was in Barrie.
That's right. We drove to Barrie. Yeah.
I wonder if you remember this part. It was too far. That was the undertone, and it was too far.
I drove to Barrie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He had to drive. That was very important. So. There were a bunch of things Joseph did for me that he did not have to.
I loved it though. It was like I would get to make cool videos.
He would do anything to do content. That is his thing. He'll do.
That's why we're here. What do you think?
Here's the great news. I got us credentials.
Yeah.
Now here's the catch.
Yeah.
You got to do about everything.
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to be using your camera
Yeah.
and your microphone because I don't have
Yeah.
one.
And you're going to hold the camera.
And you're also going to hold it.
And maybe edit the video.
Do me a favor and edit it.
Yeah.
And can you make sure it's in this font? And
It was great, though.
I don't know
loved
why
it.
you didn't. Why am I here? It should have been to get ambushed.
Yeah,
You should have been like, you know what? I've grown up.
Yeah.
And I've thought about it. And Steve, I'm going to kick your ass
Yes.
right now. I'm going to give you the ass kicking that you deserve. Like, so
That's great.
So we go to that game, and I don't know if you remember this part, but it's in Barrie, and there was a giveaway that night for I don't think it was Kraft.
It
dinner.
was. I thought it was, no?
It was Kraft dinner or President's Choice or some sort of boxed macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
And it's under your seat, and it's supposed to be like a noise shaker.
Yeah.
Well, the game goes to overtime, and Taylor Hall and the Windsor Spitfires score, and they win, which means Barrie lost.
In their home
And
barn.
they're like, yeah, and they're celebrating. And Ross, have you ever seen 300?
Yeah. Okay.
No.
People just started throwing the boxes of macaroni and cheese like arrows from the Persians at Sparta's 300.
No way.
And Joe and I, who have to go downstairs into the bowels of the arena to go interview the players after the game.
Yep.
And the poor Barrie Colts, like, marketing person or something, she runs by us. And she goes, oh, I specifically told them this wouldn't happen. I can see her doing it like I'm there.
Oh my
I specifically told them that they wouldn't throw the things when they
It's
lost.
one of my favorite things I've ever seen in person. Like, it's so oh my God, it's so funny.
I wish I was there for that. That's great.
It's so good. So,
Oh no.
you know, doing a bunch of that stuff. And
Yeah.
worked at Leafs TV, worked at CBC.
All while still making your own videos on YouTube.
And going to school.
Yeah, yeah.
Nike sent me to
that's
the
right.
Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
That was
right.
I remember that being
That was a big
huge. Like for
Yeah.
just our friends and like remembering like
Derek
that
was
was
your lawyer.
super cool.
Oh,
Well, he was not a lawyer.
He was not a lawyer. No, I had someone
friend-
pretend to be my lawyer.
Yeah.
Derek Ryder, pretend to be my lawyer
Yep.
in a conversation with an agency representing Nike.
Yeah, right.
He didn't do a great job.
Oh, he's not a lawyer.
He could have got. He could have got me more money. No, he. But like I was
Left
getting.
some on the table, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just a little bit. Yeah. But we also got free dinner,
Right.
and I
That's
was
nice.
like, this is nuts.
So at the
This
time,
is luxury.
but at the
What
time,
do you
that
mean?
was,
What's a company card? Can I see it?
Yeah, right.
at the time though, that was success.
It was success. That I've been told, or I've thought to myself, I've made it so many times.
Yeah.
And your definition of made it is going to keep changing. Like one day, I specifically remember it's burned into my brain, and when you hear about it, like you'll be like, well, yeah, how could it not be? Is I'm still at school. Like I'm at Dundas Square, probably in between classes that I don't want to go to. I wasn't a good student.
Yeah.
And I was a commuter. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
If I missed the train, I don't think I have class today.
Yeah.
Actually, like I don't like any. Like I'm not missing one. I'm missing three.
Yeah.
But I was in Dundas Square, and I got a call from my boss at Leafs TV who didn't know that I made videos because I didn't tell him. And then he told me about this thing he was launching called Leaf Space. There's a play on MySpace, shows you how old this is.
Yes.
And it's a website that encouraged Leaf fans to upload videos and, just yell and scream about the Leafs or whatever. And so I sent it to him, and he looked at it and he called me and he goes, Steve, you're exactly what we're looking for. We're going to make you a star.
No way.
He said those words.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I made it.
I mean, yep.
I made it. I'm a millionaire.
Yeah.
Go home and tell my mom and dad, who I still live with.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'm rich now.
Yeah.
Right.
Still live with them for another probably 5-6 years after that conversation.
Because I need the set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Where would I have gone? Where would I have shot?
That's great.
See, that's your producer hat.
Yeah.
on.
I said, well, we need the set.
Don't give up the set.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think about any of that. Right.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
Yeah, we
but
did-
but then
It worked. So you did that, right? Did you do Leaf Space?
Oh yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
right.
There's too many and thens.
Yeah, right.
And
then.
But did that do it? Did that?
No. Because then the lockout came in 2012. So I did that for a while and I was progressing. And then I joked with a coworker of mine. I was like, well, they're making cuts, but you and I are going to be fine because we don't make anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I quickly found out you could actually make less. You can actually make less than not a lot. And yeah, they did. It was like they didn't want to get rid of me entirely because they liked me, but they had to make huge budget cuts. And
jeez,
wow,
it was like I think it was 14,400 for the season prior, and I tried to tally up all the hours I did because it was just like a monthly rate, and so I tried to tally up the hours I did versus the amount of money I made, and I think I was making like $5 an hour.
Wow. Never do that math. That's tough math.
You did it.
That's how little I was making.
Yeah.
And that's how long the train rides were.
Yes.
As RTA students doing math, that's rough.
So I was probably making like, I don't know, 15, 20. But like, I'm just stupid.
Did the math.
So I don't know. But no, they ended up giving me like a writing job for like $300 a month.
Right.
And again, like I'm now 2 years out of school and I have aspirations of moving out.
Yeah.
And they're getting worse.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God.
So what the hell do I do? I edited highlights for the KHL for a while.
Yeah.
Because I was doing highlights for CBC at the time. It's difficult to line up all the timelines.
Yeah.
That's okay.
You've done a lot.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Odd job Bob over here.
Yeah.
I was doing for that Russian hockey league, the KHL. And by the end of the season, I realized they'd shortchanged me. So they were late on their last payment. I'm like, let me go make sure all the other payments were up to snuff, and they weren't.
Oh my!
They had shorted me, and keep in mind, I was like 25, $11,635.
Holy Christ!
And I remember the exact
How'd you
amount.
not notice that?
Well,
you get
it was rubles to American dollars to Canadian
it was a
to
triple convert. I see.
It was a mess.
Wow.
And I discovered this in May of 2013, and I just made peace with the fact I'm never going to see that money.
Right.
It's gone.
Right.
Halloween 2013. They pay me every dollar I'm owed.
No way.
Wow.
And this shows you like there's a cultural difference there. So they paid me and they're like, all right, so when do you start?
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, no, I don't work for you anymore.
Yeah.
Really? They assumed you were going to come right back?
Yeah, like I would just be fine.
Right. Although you
that.
wouldn't be upset that I say.
Yeah, no. So I didn't go back.
Wow.
But I called my fiance at the time and was like, let's go buy a house.
Wow.
And that's going to make a lot of young people watching this really mad.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what financial strategy I had? Being born in 1988. Like it was just lucky.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
But it didn't work for me. In 1988, I was born too. Didn't know no house.
Yeah.
March though.
That's why. May. 2 months. 2 months.
Too
Big
late.
difference.
Too
he
late.
did the same thing. He just married a rich wife.
Yeah. She's 6 years older.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Late 80s.
Brilliant.
Early 80s. Perfect.
Brilliant. He nailed it.
That's smarter. That's
This
smarter.
guy, that's entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay. Yeah. Speaking of entrepreneurial, like that is it's a fantastic transition into continuing.
I don't think he's done the timeline.
I know,
yet.
but I think it'll play into it.
Okay.
We'll get there.
But like being a creative, how much you actually realize, like, oh shit, I gotta understand business and like how to do that properly. And even though at the same time I don't care about it and I don't want to know about it because that's my life. And especially now quitting and going on my own for the last 2 years, it's like, oh yeah, like I gotta figure that part out and like taxes and it's the worst.
Oh.
But like, what's the most surprising thing as you've been going that you've like didn't realize that you had to figure out, and now you are still either trying to figure out or had to figure out?
Well, you mentioned taxes. Like, that was very literally a huge surprise. I think it was my first year out of school. I was a freelancer and I was collecting all this money. And I'm just Scrooge McDuck. Here, look at all this money and saving none of it.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And I'm at H&R Block or whatever, getting my taxes done.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, so you owe $9,000.
Yeah. That happens, yeah.
And I'm like, I remember thinking like I'm ruined. Like I'm financially ruined.
Is it?
I'm never
You might not make it.
at that age. Oh, I'm not. No, I'm dead. I might as well get in the coffin now. Hopefully it has Wi-Fi. Like it was so bad. But she then she goes,
Oh, you killed him. Good.
then she goes, I don't want to actually die. Like I just want to do the ceremonial part of getting in there, but like I want to go on my phone.
Of course. A lot of fake deaths. That's a good way to get out of the debt.
Great invention.
Wi-Fi for coffin, just in case.
Coffin Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But she goes, so my stupidity works both ways though. So I didn't save any money. But then she goes, you also haven't claimed your tuition ever
interesting.
in your entire time at school.
Oh, perfect.
So she's like, you owe $900.
Oh,
and I was like, that's still real bad, but
Oh my
I'll
God.
live. I'll be fine.
It's not 10 times as bad.
It's not 10 times as bad. I'll live. I'll be okay.
Wow.
That's wild.
So that was a big surprise. And like, again, our program is for people who didn't want to do math.
Yeah. That's it.
No
exactly.
I wanted to like understand math, but I didn't make it any
that's
better
a
to do
shame.
it.
Oh, I didn't
Didn't
go
make
to
it any
math
easier.
class with the ambition of failing.
I know some people that did do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they
No.
went in. They're like, "Yeah, teach me. I dare you."
I worked really hard. No, I got the pity 50.
Oh, did you? Well, me
Yeah.
too. But I wanted to know math.
There
I
was a
really,
math
I
cl-
like
there
even
was a
now.
math class? What do you mean?
Yeah,
Is it-
not
no,
in
no,
school.
like
in high school.
Oh yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
no
you
good.
get the look. We know you're destined for things, but here's a 50.
No,
That's
it's
what they do.
grade 11.
Yeah.
My parents met my math teacher, and he's a great kid. He should not take math next year.
Yeah, I got that too.
Which is like that's closing the door on needing math.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
And now I am 36, and between my wife and I'm the math
Yeah, well,
one.
me in my group too. I'm the math one.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
Isn't that horrifying?
It's horrible.
What a mantle.
They said to me, they're like, you should understand math because you understand guitar. And I went, oh, well, I didn't. Nope. No, not any better.
If I had to choose between doing my taxes myself and someone running up to me and going, you need to perform CPR on the stranger right now
You're right.
and try to save their life, I'd rather do the CPR.
Yeah.
It's less pressure.
Yeah, totally.
Way less pressure and doesn't take as long.
Yeah,
Yeah, the results are much quicker.
It's much
way
quicker.
quicker.
Win or lose.
Much easier too. Yeah.
Way quicker.
Yeah.
Way quicker. You don't do your own taxes because it's good news.
No, of course not. Yeah, well,
No.
you always owe something.
So 2013, 2014, you're a CBC somewhere there, and what happens after CBC? Or like, why did you left CBC at one point?
Yeah, so I was at CBC in the building the day it was announced Rogers was buying Hockey Night in Canada.
Oh my
Oh,
God!
wow.
Wow.
They shouldn't
Okay.
have you around. Every
I
time
didn't-
you're around, something bad happens.
Dude, it's like I felt like a squirrel in a forest with a huge deforestation problem.
Yeah, like you can lose all your trees.
Well, and like there were all these places to work or intern when we were in school.
Right.
It's like, oh, you can go work at the Score.
Right.
Right,
Oh,
right.
they cut that tree down, timber.
That's right.
All right, you can go work at this, and it's like, okay, you can work at Rogers or Bell.
Yep, that's it.
And
Yeah,
I'm like,
still true.
okay, or CBC.
Yep.
And then, that when they announced Rogers was getting the rights, it's like someone started the saw.
Mhm.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I don't want to be at the top of this thing when,
Yeah.
when
You
they
got
start
out.
cutting.
So you got out at that point.
Well, they also just sort of stopped giving me shifts.
Oh, right.
So I still worked there part-time when I moved into my house with my wife.
Right.
And that was a long drive from downtown
Oh yeah.
Toronto to Oshawa, especially at like 2 a.m,
Oh yeah.
which turned into 3 a.m.
Mm.
And 5 shifts after I moved into that house, I got laid off.
Is that
Oh,
right?
Jesus.
And, all right, so what do I do? And so I'm doing I was doing my videos. I was starting to make money off my YouTube channel, not a ton. I was doing highlights at NHL Network. Got laid off from that too.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude, like it sucked. And
It's worse than I thought.
Yeah.
and then, so the beginning of the 14-15 season comes around, which is Rogers' first. Someone who was a mid-morning producer when I was an intern was now the vice program director or whatever. And he's like, I finally got it. Like we stayed in touch over the years, and he's like, I'm gonna get you in the door. You're gonna be doing a behind the scenes job, but like it's an important job, and people will figure out who you are pretty quick. Like a month in, there was a guy who was above me at CBC who also jumped ship to Rogers because everyone did.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, Steve works here? Is he making videos for us?" No. "Oh, that's stupid. That's what he does."
Really?
And so, you know,
Wow.
I did that. And then the next year, though, they eliminate my starter position at Rogers, but they go, "We liked your videos that you did and the articles that you did. So you get to still work here. It's just that's what you do full time."
I see.
And
That's cool.
so I got to ride that for 9 years.
That's
That's
perfect.
not wow.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
So,
so-
well, it was 1 year with the starter thing, and then 8 where that was another made it moment.
Yeah.
My second year at Rogers, I was like, there's no side hustle anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just
doing the
whether
thing.
I'm doing it for myself or I got the podcast now, which I started in 2013. I skipped over that little part.
Oh yeah.
And then
Rogers.
making the content at Rogers. All I'm doing for a living is making content. I made it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I made it.
And
Here
you
we
were
go.
doing all that, so they were paying you to just do the things you were already doing. Is that kind of
Kinda.
yeah?
kind of, but like doing it for them.
For the-
and
yeah,
like
sure.
it'll go on their platforms. And,
Right.
Sure.
You know, I might not do a video about like the Penguins signing somebody. Or
yes.
whatever.
Totally.
But when I started working there, I had to, broaden my scope. You can't just talk to Leaf fans, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And is that when they had you doing the games, like the streaming the games?
Oh,
Was that after that?
That wasn't until 2021.
Yeah.
Is that
that's
right?
recent. Yeah.
Oh, really?
2020.
During a
So skipping
pandemic.
ahead.
Pandemic show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pandemic.
Yep.
That's a good thing that came from the pandemic, right? Or did
Well,
you hate that?
So the pandemic comes. First of all, they canceled the NHL season on my birthday.
That was good. Yeah, you really got to stop showing up.
Dude,
It's just crazy.
brutal.
It's
Stop
just
showing
every
up.
time anything, it's gone.
It's brutal. Well, and like the Leafs had just lost to David Ayres,
Right.
The
Yeah, the
emergency
Zamboni.
backup
Oh
goalie.
right.
It's the biggest video I've ever done, and
That was a
3
great
weeks
video.
later, there's no more games.
That's
Like,
right.
You can't capitalize on anything,
Yeah.
right? So,
Wow.
but so between March 12th, 2020,
Yep.
and end of June 2020, 0 NHL games were played, and I made 50, 100 videos,
Did you still?
and,
Wow.
and did a bunch of streams actually,
Right.
on old games.
Right. All right. I remember that.
But
Yeah.
I was making so much content. We ended up sort of on purpose, accidentally creating all these different video series because there was nothing else to talk about other than dipping into the archives,
Right.
and looking at
Mhm.
trades from the past and bloopers from the past.
That
and
was
the
cool though. That was a
highlights.
smart idea. To
It was
do that.
cool.
Yeah.
But so there were 0 games played between March 12th, 2020 and June 22nd, 2020. But what happened on June 22nd, 2020 is I became a father.
That's right. Yeah. Oh
Gotta
my
tell
God.
you, not a great time to spend 4 days in the hospital.
Yeah. Right. I'm sure.
right when it's
Not a
man.
great day. No, not a great time.
Yeah.
Some dad in Montreal almost screwed it up for everyone. Like apparently he lied about having symptoms or whatever, and there was a talk about like banning dads from attending births.
No
like,
way.
nationwide.
No way.
And I was just sitting there like, I'm
going.
in. Yeah.
I don't care if I have to like John Q break into this.
Yeah. I'm going
Like,
up the outside of the wall,
So
scaling it.
got in there.
Yeah.
And then like it's kind of a blur after that.
Right.
Like,
It just kept rolling. It feels like from that moment.
well, it built and it built and it built, and I started growing and growing and growing. The podcast that we started in 2013 has turned into this giant thing.
Yeah.
My channel's turned into this big thing, and my cachet at Sportsnet had grown to this crazy level where I was making maybe the most stuff at the company. I'm not sure.
Wow.
Like, it was a lot, definitely digital.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that all built to an opportunity I got in 2021. They're like, would you like to stream games where we show the game next to your head saying things?
Mhm.
And I go, yeah, I'd like to do that. And it wasn't included in my contract. And they're like, we'll pay extra. We'll figure out what the extra is. They're like, do you just want to do game 1 tomorrow or whatever? I go, okay, yeah, sure. I do it. Tavares gets knocked out like 9 minutes in.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah.
So that was the first game we did.
You're right. I remember that.
And I could feel everyone watching and like everyone in the company. Like I could feel that there was the audience, but then there was like people who are like in and around my life, like personally and professionally, I could feel them watching going,
What do we do?
there's a guy getting stretchered off the ice for 20 minutes here at the beginning of the game. Like, how's it going to go? And it ended up going okay. The Leafs go up 3-1 in the series, and they finally go, I'm not there anymore, so I don't have a problem saying this. They go, tell you what, we're going to give you an extra $5,000 per round.
So the
So losing makes it so much worse for you, even more so.
So in my head, I'm counting the dollars already.
You've already spent
I'm
it.
like, that's at least $15,000.
Yeah.
In my head, because I'm like, okay, they're gonna win this one. They need one more win. They're gonna get that.
Yeah, right.
And then they're gonna smoke the Jets.
Yeah.
And then third round, even if they lose, like they're gonna end up playing a team like Carolina or something.
Yeah, you started looking at new houses. Like, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And they never won another game.
That's just
They never won another game.
Oh, the trials and tribulations.
But it comes out. They want to do streams every Saturday the next season.
Right.
And but I still have a year left on my deal, but the streams aren't represented in that deal.
Yeah.
And so Rogers goes, well, what if we just rip up the last year of your deal and give you an extension? And I went, yeah, that sounds real good. So we did that. And again, there's another, I made it.
I mean, yeah.
I made it. I'm going to do this the rest of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my podcast. That's huge. And they don't bug me about it.
Right.
You know,
But they broadcasted, like they put it out, like it was on radio, right? For a bit, or pieces of it?
Only for a bit.
Okay, so but were you under their umbrella, or you were separate?
Not
Totally
the podcast. No,
It was always separate. Oh, very cool.
Because it predated my time at Sportsnet, and so did my YouTube channel.
Right. Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, I got a lot of freedoms that some other people there, I think, would have rightfully been like, why can Steve do this and I can't?
Of course.
Right.
And it was a unicorn situation.
Totally.
that
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to avoid in the future. because like it's a giant company and they want to have control of everyone.
Makes
and
sense.
They didn't have full control of me.
Yep.
Right.
So I get the contract extension. Trying to think of which parts I can say on this show. It was good. I was really happy with the deal. Something happens where we agree to a deal and I sign it. But something happens where management changes and they no longer the new management no longer likes the deal that old management signed.
Right.
Sure, yeah.
It wasn't the money, it was other provisions in it. There was a legal dispute. It lasted about a month. The day I found out they weren't gonna honor the contract I had signed, like literally, I hung up the phone. So I had that terrible conversation, hung up the phone. My wife walks in the door. Like there's less than 10 seconds between those things happening. My wife comes in the door and tells me she's had a miscarriage.
Oh, Jesus.
Jeez.
So I know, I'm sorry to make it so heavy.
Yeah,
but
no,
like,
that's all.
highest of highs.
Yeah.
And like it's like one of the worst days of my life.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so but that also sort of dictated I'll say exactly what happened. So doctor told her she had a miscarriage. The next week, she goes in for a follow-up. Doctor goes, actually, never mind. There's a heartbeat. Here it is.
What?
Shows her the heartbeat.
Huh?
Yeah,
It
what?
was alive.
Yeah.
Next week they go in for, next week or 2 weeks later, she goes in for another follow-up. Never mind. There's no more heartbeat.
Oh,
Oh
jeez.
my God.
So I'm going through the legal process while doing that, and something just broke.
Yeah.
Like when the second time, where it dictated. Like you know how I said COVID sort of pushed people into a mindset of there's less tomorrow
Right.
than
Right.
there was before.
Right.
I was like, I'm gone.
Right.
I'm gone. And like working out the contract extension and everything, we come to our I can't get into the specifics. I had to make some concessions and
Sure.
ended up on April Fool's Day. I know.
It's perfect.
I know. I half expected them to go, actually you're fired.
Yeah. Right.
So April Fool's Day, we come to it, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to continue to do good work for these guys. Like that was one very important, not piece of advice, because like I knew it, but one strong encouragement I kept getting from everyone in my life, my parents, my wife, my lawyer, my business partners. They're like, you need to do a good job.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Like whether you're mentally checked out or not, as long as you're there, you can't do a crappy job.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't dog it. And
That's fair.
I always gave them my best.
Mhm.
Every single day I gave them my best. And I was open to the idea of, you know what, time heals all wounds. I'll get over it. Opportunity came up with the podcast network, and I'm like, you know what? And like I've worked here long enough that like almost everyone that I've worked here with has gotten canned.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely the people that I started with, they're all canned.
Mm-hmm.
The people who hired me are canned. The people who hired them are canned. The people they hired to replace them are canned. You know, it's a telecom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
That's how it works.
everyone's canned. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm going to stick it out here and not invest in myself,
Yeah.
in my own business ventures, my own YouTube channel, my own podcast network, my own business. So I'm not going to invest in that for a job that's probably just going to fire me anyway.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
Like
true.
they signed me to an extension, but like there was no guarantee they wouldn't just be like,
Yeah.
beat it.
Of course.
We're spending all this money on YouTube.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're like
From the outside.
135. Like we're not.
Yeah.
sorry.
No. I'm sorry. I was gonna say from the outside because I was following you at this time when you were doing the streams in the on the weekend, right?
Yeah.
And then you'd listen to the podcast, and it was so like, well, we had all these cool things we were gonna do, but we can't do them because you're not available because you're doing the streams every weekend.
Yep.
And that was what it looked from the outside. I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, that's a pickle.
Hmm.
What's this guy gonna do? So we just all assumed it's like, well, you can't do both, so you pick this. So to hear the other side of it is interesting because
Well,
we didn't, you know.
It was that. Like
Right.
it was always probably heading here. And even when I signed my contract extension before that one, much earlier on in my time at Sportsnet, like my boss straight up said, and I thought this was a very weird tactic. He was just like, well, we both know you're not going to be here forever anyway.
Was it really?
And but like as if not like well you're gonna say something stupid and get fired,
Yeah,
which I
right.
almost did a couple times. But like he's like, well, you're gonna outgrow this position,
Yes.
and,
Right.
and go do your own thing.
Yes.
So it was always heading in that direction, but it's so comfy.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's like I don't stay in bed because I'm afraid to face the day. I don't stay in bed. You know this about me. I don't stay in bed because I don't want breakfast.
You're right. Oh God. Of course.
I want breakfast, but
Yeah.
sometimes the bed is more comfortable than breakfast.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That's. Yeah.
It's difficult.
I
right?
would love to sleep in now. There's the kids though. They
It's your whole-
can't stay in bed now
You
anymore.
got a
with
whole
the
bit
kids.
about how you
Yeah,
can't
there's a
wake
whole
up.
bit there anyway.
and it got to the point where that job was my bed, and
Yeah.
you know,
It's very
cold
nice.
side of the pillow and everything, and
Mhm.
and I don't know, that going through that whole experience was just sort of like a hot pillow.
Yeah.
That's
you know,
wild,
you know
though.
what? I'm just gonna get out of bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's heading there anyway.
Yep.
I'm
And
done.
You got out. Oh, that's crazy.
I gave them my 6 months. I
Yeah.
did great work for them for 6 months. That's another thing. I had to give
6 months is a long
months.
time.
at your job. You have to give them 6 months notice.
No.
Yeah. So I negotiated them down from a year.
Oh
Oh,
my.
wow.
That's
You wanted a
insane.
year.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
but that's
So you 6 months. That's crazy.
yeah.
Actually.
Quite a
So I
while.
gave them 6 months, and I did great work for them during that 6 months.
Yeah.
No one would have ever known except it got broken on Twitter somehow,
Oh, really?
but not a lot of people saw it. Luckily,
Mm-hmm.
and went to the end of my contract, and that was it.
And now you're in SDPN.
That was a year ago.
And that's
Wow.
Yeah. And now SDPN full time.
Yeah.
And even that, like, it hasn't been without
Sure, of course.
hiccups, and we had to do layoffs, and oh my God, it gave me a greater appreciation for what kind of absolute sociopaths run these
You
giant
have
companies.
to. Yeah, they have to be. Yeah.
They're faceless, heartless. They
It
don't know.
shattered me in the days leading up to it. It shattered me worse in the days after it. Like
Yeah.
I never want to do that again.
Yeah.
Right.
Ever. Am I gonna have to in the future? I mean,
You never know. It
Every
could happen.
I'm not that
EOS.
close to dead. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a pretty good chance sometime in the next half century or whatever I got left, I'm gonna have to do it again. I really hope not, though.
Well, every CEO has to have that uncomfortable thing, but that's part of that leadership thing we talked about earlier. Is that like that's one of the downsides of being the leader is you have to run the ship, right?
You got to do it, and you can't run it into the iceberg,
Right.
right?
But
So-
I'll tell you from your story though, the one thing that I really pulled from it is that like everything you were doing as a side hustle that was outside of what you're doing, it was all relevant. Everything you did was very relevant. It's not like you were. I mean, I know you used to work at a zoo at one point, which you
That was
That
that
was
was
a
just
great job.
you glazed over. You
love
glazed
it.
over that, but it's not like you were
You
working
gla-
at the zoo. Although in many ways, some of these jobs sound like you might have been working with monkeys.
The zoo straight up helped me. Like, well, because I didn't take an on-camera course
Right.
at school. Like there were the mandatory courses we had to take, and like some of it was on camera, but like I never took like a presentation course or nothing.
Right.
I took all writing courses,
That's smart. Yeah.
and
But
I don't know. I still, when I was in school, I'm like, yeah, but I'm not gonna be doing the YouTube thing forever. Or like this.
Like how wrong you were.
I was very well. It wasn't like we were in school 2006 to 2010,
was
and
very
it
new.
just wasn't a career path,
Right, because it
Unless
was
you were like
brand new.
Smosh
Yeah.
or like how many big channels were around even back then. And,
Right.
You know, now
Everything.
everyone's
Everyone.
got, you know, so they got 500,000 subscribers. They live in your city. Never heard of them.
It's
This
true.
is on YouTube right now.
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
every jerk has a channel.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, two jerks. Okay,
Okay,
that's different.
yeah.
But so all that to say though, so I didn't take a single on-camera course at school, but the zoo tour that I had to do, it's a 25-minute tour, and I did 8 to 10 of them a day.
Wow.
So you're talking to people all the time.
All the time.
There it is.
But it was relevant then. But but the point really is that everything you did was somehow related to hockey or sports broadcasting, and you kept that as your side hustle.
So I always I try to tell the youths about the Venn diagram.
Right.
So like there's the broadcasting circle,
Okay.
there's the hockey circle,
Right.
and then if you want to work in hockey broadcasting, you want to end up somewhere in here.
Right.
But you know, it's rare that you at 18 years old or whatever, or 22, I guess, if you're fresh out of school, go, I would like to be dead center of that Venn diagram. Yes, here you go.
Right.
Hockey night in Canada. Good luck.
Yeah.
So there's only two places to kind of go at it: hockey or broadcasting. Then you have to find where that middle ground is.
Yeah, as long as you're doing a couple things in hockey and you're doing a couple things in broadcasting, and as long as you're moving closer to where you want to go, or you know, like a lot of people we went to school with, like it's not that they didn't make it; it's they discovered something they liked more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's
Right.
very true.
You know,
Though
like-
there are a lot that I do know who are just like, man, I just couldn't do that music thing. I couldn't do that. You know, I needed to do money instead.
life's hard.
Yeah.
Like
That's right.
you're 18 and when you or 17 probably when you do the application process and you think you know what you want to do with your life. I was double that age 2 years ago.
Right.
That's not old. And you're making crazy decisions and paying so much money for it.
Yeah.
And like if you know, my cousin is a kinesiology major, and another buddy of mine is was it archaeology
Right.
or something? They're both plumbers.
Mm.
And they love it. They love it, and they make more money than if they were doing
Those things.
probably things in that field.
Yeah.
Of course.
Or at least as much,
Yeah.
you know? And
Well, I think that's just crazy though that you were able to keep in that Venn diagram for the whole thing. Even your side hustle and the real thing was all right there, and it's like
I
that's
cast a wide
crazy.
net.
Yeah, but still though, it's hard to do that, man. I would say congratulations on being able to do that, and that's awesome.
I think, you know, one constant that I feel like is getting worse is when I get messages from people who are like into high school or in university, man, they just have this real like not nihilism, defeatism.
Okay.
Like they just I feel like they all think they're failures and they're not.
Right.
It's you don't understand how young you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And to see,
Relax.
yeah.
Right.
Also, I think because there's like this idea that YouTube is just anybody could do it because you can just upload a video.
Right.
But to make those videos, watchable or successful is very hard.
And you can't just upload the amount of times I see someone upload a video and it gets like, I don't know, 20 views.
And you're like, you quit.
Yeah. Well, you got to do it you get over the 6-month hump.
Yeah.
And the more effort you put into getting over the 6-month hump, the easier it'll be for you to get to a year. I feel like, I tried the YouTube thing and I was no good at it. Did you do it for 2 years?
Yeah.
No? Then how do you even know?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You gotta do something for a really long time. You can go viral.
Yeah.
Like I'm probably in the minority here. I am so fascinated by the Hawk-Tuah girl.
Yeah.
I am fascinated by it and not in the way that you probably think. Like a lot of people watch her and they go, I'm sick of her. Get her 15 minutes of fame or
no, I'm
and I'm like, okay.
She's parlayed it into.
She's in a 10-second viral clip.
Yeah.
And she's parlayed it to she worked at a spring factory.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
like friggin' Willy Wonka. What's that family where they the little kid's family they're screwing on the tops of toothpaste.
Yes.
That's their job. That's what it sounds like her job was.
Yeah.
Right? And she seems very aware that 10-second clip, like you can't just say, you can't be the I didn't do it kid like Bart Simpson. You can't just go up on stage and say Hawk-Tuah and everyone's going to be like, for the next 50 years.
Right.
Like you got to find a way to take the money you've earned and the clout and everything and parlay it into something else. And she's done like a bunch of donations and I think she's done stuff for animals too. And she's still figuring it out.
Sure. Yeah.
But like, I'm rooting for her.
Yeah.
Like,
It's brilliant.
Wow.
I want her to succeed.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about her like beyond she said that
Right.
And that she's doing things.
her 15 seconds has turned into 16, 17, 18,
Yeah.
or
Right.
15 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
And like, she knows she can't just do that. So anyway, all that to say, everyone's looking for that one viral video. Like,
Yeah.
especially like on TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
your viral video's dead within the week.
Oh God.
right?
Yeah. It's terrible.
Within the week.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so what's next?
You gotta make the next thing. It's hard. It's sad a little bit because you don't get to live in that for very long. You have to keep making the content. You have to keep doing it.
That's your world, though.
That is my
content.
world, which is again, I'm glad I love it.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't do it if you don't like making videos.
Well-
And that comes back to the other part of the business side of that I don't love, that I had to understand and had to go and figure out in sponsorship deals and calls and contracts and taxes. And it's just like, I just want to make a cool video, right? I don't want to fire people. I'm just trying to make a cool video.
I know. I know. There are times when you're running the ship where you go, boy, I didn't get into this for this.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that it's something like the roof is leaking. Or
Yeah,
like,
right. This guy has a flood. Empty room.
Yeah,
all the
the
stuff
flood,
you lose, everything. Yeah, I remember.
We get our building and we're like, all right, and now we need a studio.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No,
I was telling Ross, when I walked in here, it's a beautiful studio.
Thanks,
like
man.
I can hear how bad my tinnitus is. Like, how silent it is in here. And instead of just looking at it in nothing but awe, I looked at the control room and I'm like, oh God, someone had to bring that up the stairs.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And unfortunately, that was me. Yeah.
Oh my
Not a
God,
great-
that was probably so
It
difficult.
was 4 of us.
Oh.
We may or may not have dropped on the way in.
Pivot.
I'll tell you this from a friends reference. I'll tell you this from you guys have it from the film side or the YouTube side where you're putting up stuff. From a music side, you have as a band, you've got forever to do your first album. And once you drop your first album, you have like 6 months to drop that next one or you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And even beyond that, so we just put a record July 6th, which was our most recent record after the Fallout, which was, and they're already going, where's the next one? Like they're already saying you should be working on the next one. Like we're still touring in this support of this one.
It's like having kids.
But an album isn't.
When's number 2?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You keep kidding.
But an album, like, not to belittle like a TikTok video, for example, but like that takes a couple hours to do. Like an album,
it depends on what video.
But an album is like a
ahead.
6-month process. Like it's from
sure.
conceiving the songs to workshopping them in front of crowds, and then actually doing the work to record it, mix it, edit it, and get it mastered. It's like it's a lot of. So you're like, we have to do this again. We just. Right, and then you look at like the early days of Beatles, Zeppelin, like they put out 2 records a year, and you're like, holy Christ, we can't do that.
I never want to write a book again. I just wrote number 2.
That's right. That's crazy.
And I'm willing to bet I'll have another one within 5 years.
Really?
That's insane. You never want to do it again.
They're so hard.
Yeah,
I don't know how you do it.
I can't imagine that.
I would say, though,
I don't know either.
I think from working with you, especially, like I remember just, we did our practicum project together.
Yeah.
We did, Deal With It, which is a reality show based on a car dealership. It was fun. You were like the story editor. You and I were like, I feel like the main creatives with the story. And it just, every creative problem, like, I feel like you just figured it out. Like you had so many great, and you're still good at it. That's why you're such a great writer. I think that's why you're very interesting to listen to, because you just have a wealth of ideas that flood in your brain. I don't know how I would love to see inside there how it works, because it's fantastic. And I feel like you're the guy to write the book. You can make a new book and it'd be filled with new great ideas because of how you work and how I've seen, relied on you for different things and different times for creatively. And it's like you deliver. So I love it. I think you're the right guy for being in this position.
Ross, do you have any nice things you'd like to say about me? Or?
No, I said them all already. Actually, I do have.
Thank you, man.
I do have one. You'll get a kick out of this if you'd like to hear it. So we were over in the UK for both last playoff runs.
Okay.
And obviously restrictions and all that stuff. Like you can't really watch. I had VPN trying to scam the game. The only one that worked, which I would have watched anyway, but really the only one that worked was your stream, because I could get over and I could make it work. So we're watching the game, and the guy says, so is that little guy in the corner, is that normal to have a guy talking to him? Like, no, that's actually that's to my buddy. He's like, you know this guy? Like, yeah. He's like, oh, okay, so it's not that popular. I'm like, no, look how many people are watching this.
Yeah.
And it was astronomical, right? So he was learning through you. I'm trying to give him the rules, but he was learning through your enthusiasm.
So
that's what's crazy.
What's crazy is you reinforcing Canadian stereotypes. Well, you're watching a hockey broadcast and you're like, I know that guy. Yeah. I know that. And you do. You authentically do.
That's so deep. Such a deep Canadian thing going there. Oh no.
And it's Steve.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, it's Steve from Toronto.
Steve. We got him hooked, but it was largely because of your ability to be passionate about it. You have to explain the rules and break it down. It's different than soccer, or football, totally. But it's because it's like, well, this guy's really into it, and I can see why you're into it if this is how everyone is. I'm like, oh yeah, they're all like that. Yeah, every one of them, every Canadian's like this.
All of them.
Is that why you go through all these things and all these hardships and like being the boss now? Is it to get to the point where that passion gets to come out of you in filming it and sharing it with people? Is that why you love it? Like, why do you do what you're doing?
Well, I don't know what else I'd do.
That's very safe, yeah.
But like, it's not a bad gig.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
It's not like sometimes, I'll be sitting in the basement watching the game and I'll be like, I'm doing my job.
Yeah, right. So it's you kind of follow what you love.
And you get grumpy when the Leafs lose, which is often. But like.
It's as often.
But like at the end of the day, like a bad day doing what I do is still a pretty good day.
Yeah.
And like the worst days are, unfortunately, fortunately, whatever, the biggest paydays.
True.
Like when they get eliminated,
drama.
Everyone's like, let's go honk on the sad clown's nose. Yeah. let's go.
Oh my
God. See how poorly he's handling it today. It's still bad.
Yeah.
Still bad. I'm hanging in there for the first time they win. I want to know, if it ever happens.
That'll be wild. That'll be insane. You have to.
What'll I do?
I don't know. You'll be like Cartman on that South Park where he just sees the funniest thing in the world and then he can't see anything.
And he breaks.
You'll just be like, that's it.
I'm not going to say my passion has gone up exclusively. Like, there are peaks and valleys, but I love it more than I have at other points. Like it does keep going up. It's just not in a straight line.
Right.
It's like
That's it. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's on upward trajectory. It's the best. And like now I get to see it through my son's eyes.
That's cool.
And I can't wait to I haven't even taken him to his first Leaf game yet.
Right.
Oh,
That's going to happen this year.
That'll be good.
Yes.
And
How old is he now?
4.
Oh,
He
wow.
started junior kindergarten.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's
Right?
crazy. What?
And I get to do it again.
Yeah.
My daughter's 6 months old.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So, and like it's unfortunate for my wife and I that she took so long to arrive, but she was born into a world. She's never known a day in her life where a professional women's league didn't exist.
That's
neat.
awesome.
You know what I mean?
That's neat,
Yes.
yeah.
That's
Or she
wild.
can just like the Leafs if she wants.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
Or like, I've
Whatever.
always thought it'd be fun to have a child that doesn't cheer for the Leafs.
Oh,
Controversy.
Well, like,
great
A
content.
little Thanksgiving controversy right there.
I hate to look at it this way. It is great content, but like a great banter at very least.
Oh, for sure.
I go over to my in-laws' place like once a week, and it's on Sundays too. And my father-in-law is Liverpool, and my brother-in-law is Chelsea.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
And I
that's
don't know
fun.
if you know this or not; those aren't the same team.
No.
Not even
They
a little bit.
Do not care for each other,
No,
They don't.
they hate
and it's
each other.
the best.
You know,
Yeah.
a lot of those guys don't care for each other. A lot
It's
of those
crazy.
hockey teams, those football teams, they don't like each other.
It's
No,
nuts.
oh,
I
that's
was
the way it
shocked-
works.
And
shocked about that.
I in recent weeks have seen a shadow of myself in my father-in-law.
Really?
Because a couple of the last Sundays that I've been there, we've seen Scotland play, and both games they blew a late lead and lost late in the game.
Oh.
So you're
Oh,
seeing
no.
And I see it, and but here's the difference: is I'm like, he's really mad right now, but he's getting over it because he's taught himself. It's just sports.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right,
I'm
right.
gonna get over it. I'm gonna go upstairs. I'm gonna have a nice conversation with everyone. I'm gonna have dinner. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna have a couple glasses of wine. I'm gonna go to bed.
Right.
I don't do any of that, and I go, all right, on button.
Yeah.
And I get to scream whatever I want.
Right.
Yeah.
One of
I
the
don't
worst
remember it.
things. One of the worst things that happened, I think, to the three of us. There was one. So now there's a whole sports media course.
Right.
Yes.
TMU, or sorry, program. This
Right.
is a sports media program. We had one sports media course.
That's right. We were in
And
it.
it was from 6 to 9
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. I
during
remember.
all the sports.
In the-
Right. That's right.
That's a terrible
It
idea.
was torture.
Who
Yeah.
did that? Who came
I
up
don't
with that?
know. It was awful.
Yeah, I remember that. That was interesting.
Oh, I hated it.
Maybe they wanted you to like.
That was
we're
a-
gonna mock do a game. It'll be on, so we'll mock.
That was
something.
no,
No.
never did that. But it
No,
was
they mocked me with that schedule.
Yeah, I remember that was a good. There's some interesting. There's people in that class still. You and I are still in the business. Like there's some. I think Sophia was in it.
Sophia
in Boston
Jurcevic
now.
Yeah.
was in that class. She's now with Nesson.
I thought she was with the Bruins. Then.
Yeah, it's the Bruins. Yeah,
Oh, that's
well,
who
covering
owns
the
them.
Bruins for Nesson.
Oh, I see.
Thomas Ledwick,
yeah,
who's with TSN,
Yeah.
doing a lot of their CFL and I think other stuff.
yeah. And
Worked on the
truck, right?
Olympics.
Yeah,
Ross Rayom, I believe, is
Oh, yeah.
also at TSN, and he did the Butterfly Child.
That's right.
Oh, right.
That was a good doc. Yeah.
Dude, it's
Yeah.
it's we had a
we had a good year.
pretty good little
We had a
crop.
great year.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. It's
So-
great. I missed most of this because I was dealing with the music.
Oh right.
Oh yeah,
I
because
was
you
nowhere near this.
like here I am talking about my fun little project that I'm working on. Like you've been running your own thing for over a decade.
Yeah, it's true.
But
But,
I keep waiting for you to pat me on the shoulder and go, "Good job, son."
well, no, but I feel like you just went way the hell above it, though. I mean, I'm still doing the same thing I was doing last time.
It's like you said. It's like you said in there, like smoke and mirrors.
Right?
Right.
It depends where your myriad of success is, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, the band is the main focus for me now. I mean, the studio's obviously doing things, but the band is like, wow, it's actually happening. And it's scary.
What kind of shape is your ego in right now?
It's battered.
Because, dude, mine got its ass beat.
Is it?
Oh,
Yeah,
over the
mine's,
past
mine's
year.
battered as
Oh,
fuck.
It
wow.
got its ass beat. But now I got this book coming out, and it's coming out the same day as Nazem Kadri and a week ahead of
No
Matt
way.
Sundin.
No way.
And even after this past year, I'm like, I'm beating both of you.
Wow.
yeah, dude, that's it.
I'm beating both of them. Like,
Yeah.
and like
That's
we're
amazing.
talking
In
about
sales, you mean? Or in
well,
streams?
this, I mean, not in terms of like this book's great.
Right.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I
of
Yeah.
don't
course.
know, maybe.
But in terms of popularity, yeah.
Hopefully,
In terms of
Yeah.
that's the goal.
that'd be
course.
crazy. Yeah.
I got onto the. I never expected to be a bestseller.
Right.
First book First time it was on the bestsellers list, it was like 7th or something. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. It got as high as 2nd.
Wow.
So there's Made It.
Yeah.
Made It is, I'm on the bestsellers list. I was happier when my book was 7th
Really?
than 2nd.
Why is
Because
that?
you're like,
Because 2nd is 1 away from 1st.
yeah, it's like, oh,
It's good, right, but that's the difference in where you put the marker for success.
Yeah, and now I'm hell bent on, no, I'm going to be first.
I got to be number
Right.
one.
I'll do whatever I have to
Chase.
do.
That is this. You have to keep chasing that thing that happened.
But does that batter, like, because you're saying it's taking a beating, does that batter the ego that you're like, wow, 7 was a surprise, but 2 is a disappointment? Like, that is a funny statement, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. No, like, I don't know. I think any given day or conversation, you could be like, this guy is such an arrogant jerk. Or man, this guy hates himself.
Right.
And I don't know.
Believe me, the moment that I love, and I was saying this to you the other day, is like, so one day you'll play a show in front of 20,000 people, and they loving you.
Oh yeah.
And the next day you play 4 people at a bar, and they're like, we don't
happened
really
to
get
me.
it.
That happened to me in stand-up. On the Sunday, I played 300 people. It was awesome. 2 weeks before that, I played 4 people in a bar. I just bombed.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
I wish I had your balls.
You should do. I remember us
Stand-up
talking,
comedy
saying
stuff.
you should just stand. Like you were like, oh, maybe I will.
Just to say I've done it.
Yeah.
I'm never doing Tough Mudder again. But I've done it.
Yeah.
Like,
I think you would
you
love
equate that
it.
to stand-up comedy, do you?
I think stand-up's harder.
You think than Tough Mudder?
I
Every
haven't
day.
done stand-up.
Yeah.
Right. I think you could do.
Yeah, I
you could
think
pull
it'd
it
be
off for
great.
sure,
I think
yeah.
I think it'd be fun. I mean, it would. You'd.
Another prawn in the tank for you though. That's no good.
Well, that's no.
I don't think Joe's got to worry about me. I've sat there and I've tried to write some stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah, it's hard.
I don't know. I've been to like a few open mic nights
Yeah.
to watch.
I would say, yeah. Those are
And-
really hard because the audience is not. Yeah, it's really hard. 300 person theater, the people there for the show, like it was awesome.
There's an energy
to
the room.
and everyone's there. People aren't there to try to talk to each other at the tables. They're there to watch the thing that's on the stage.
Yeah.
Whereas open mics are very much like the audience is like half in, half out, and it's brutal.
You're set up for a better night that way.
With the theater, yes.
Which is different than like in music. I think a club show is actually worse than a festival show, which you'd think the opposite. We'd think,
No.
those people are here.
Yeah.
Festival shows are better because they're there to explore and see
get the
bands.
music. They're open to
Club
new
shows
things.
are usually like, oh well, what have you got?
And I paid, yeah.
You know,
I paid
I hate
and
that. What have you got? What do you got?
I'm
today?
not here for you.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you better be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. No,
I mean, honestly, it's just amazing to hear the story and just how you've sort of not failed, but had setbacks. And
And
that's the
keep
most
moving.
important part of this thing is that there are ways to conquer setbacks.
Yep.
And-
There's been a number of times where I'm like, well, don't know how I get up from this one.
Yeah.
But then you do, and you figure it out. That's crazy.
It's been a pleasure to just watch it as we've all been our own paths, but
Yeah.
like watch everything you're doing. It's just like, God, it's so cool. And thank you for coming. Like, thank you for hanging
That's
out.
great.
The feeling's mutual. You
Yeah.
know, I get to watch you up on stage in front of all these people. You're here to see a good show, and I get to see you on stage doing something that, like, I just wish I had the courage to do.
Me too, man. I'd like to do stand up. I could never do it.
Well, and like like also the Canada US stuff.
Sure. Yeah. The videos. Yeah.
It's just so good. Like I'll get sent your videos from my mom.
That's so nice.
You know what I mean? Like
That's
it's
true.
just-
It is a very mom sending
It is.
thing he's got.
Yeah,
My mom
well,
sends me that too.
You know, but like if a buddy sent it to me too, like it's just funny.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's just
Well, that's
funny knows no borders.
that's right.
Whoa.
That's good.
Oh,
No Borders.
that's
That
deep.
could have been a name for the show, No Borders.
no borders.
What, stupid idiot.
How'd you miss that?
Do you remember these?
No way. How? Do you still have this?
I don't know.
And how is it in such good condition?
know.
Oh wow, look at that.
I like so we sold these shirts.
Yeah.
You
To
still
help
have
pay
those.
for a practicum project.
Yeah. I think the shirts cost more than we made.
Oh yeah. RTA
My dad
English
screwed
minor,
us real good.
Wow.
You have
What?
at least
at
see, you're
that.
the only guy that I know that actually used the English minor to write a book. That's pretty
Yeah,
great.
that's good.
Yeah.
I get made fun of for the English minor all
Yeah.
the time. They go,
Joey.
no, you don't.
I appreciate
That's
you giving
crazy.
me a small, but no.
No, oh god. Well, these are okay. Well, here I'll give you some more
How
current
do you
shirts.
have how many of these?
Which one do you want? These are my own. These
Oh,
are
I
the fried
see.
cheese curds gravy one.
Oh,
you
I want
you
that
want
one.
black or white? The same. Which one would you?
I'm too irresponsible for white. I'm black.
Yeah.
I'm
We're-
I'm way too irresponsible.
Yeah, it's the
for white.
Italian in them.
I
The
know the
sauce is
feeling.
gonna go
no,
everywhere.
Can't do it.
Well,
Thank
thank you,
you.
sir. We really appreciate it, man. This is great.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Justin.
That's the guy behind the camera. Is this gonna work?
Yeah.
Are we?
Now I'll just hit record and.
Oh, fuck.